we're going to go to some very big news, and I think news that Andy Lloyd obviously knows a bit more about. So I'll let you take over with the first big story, which is a bit, I don't know, worrying, I suppose.
Well, if you're referring to Peugeot at Sebring, I think I don't think it's worrying, because I think Peugeot know the direction they're going, but clearly that they've announced that they're not going to compete at Sebring, the opening round of the FIA World Endurance Championship. The FIA are very keen to move away from entrance at the highest level, picking and choosing the rounds that they're going to compete at. They haven't been happy with teams in the past finishing their seasons at Le Mans and deciding not to do the rest of the year, because let's face it, probably most people would like just to do maybe Spa and then Le Mans. So they've made it very clear that if you want to enter the championship, you've got to compete at either Sebring or Spa. So the pressure is now on Peugeot to get that car to Spa. We know that it's been testing at Motorland Aragon, and it's been testing in the wingless configuration, because when the car was announced, if you remember, there was no rear wing, and much was made of this, and much was made of the fact that this is probably more for show purposes, and actually when it came to racing they would put a wing on it, but the car was testing without a wing. So I think they're just being very cautious. They don't want to ship the car out to Sebring to find they're trying to drive around problems. So they've taken the decision we think they've taken the decision to wait until Spa. We shall have to see if they declare to race there. But I think it's going to be worth waiting for. It's a spectacular looking car. It's great that we're seeing those new cars coming into hypercar. And it's a car we're all looking forward to, hopefully seeing at Le Mans this year. But a surprising move nonetheless, bearing in mind the lead time that Peugeot have had up to the start of this season.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest question I want to ask about this is, would you say Peugeot are sandbagging by not showing their hand at Sebring, ready for Le Mans, and they've always known they're going to compete at Spa, ready because they've got to compete at Spa to enter in Le Mans? Would you say that by it not going to Sebring, it's a bit of sandbagging? It's a bit of, we're not going to let Toyota and Glickenhaus and that know how quick we are until right at the last moment?
Somehow I doubt it, because I think you can spot sandbagging, and I think they would very quickly be brought to task if that were the case. No, I genuinely think this is quite a revolutionary car. Clearly, in the aero configuration, they just need more time to make sure they're going down the right route with it. So I don't think, and plus the fact Peugeot understand the significance of them returning to the highest level of endurance and prototype racing, and they wouldn't want to cheapen that with any accusations of sandbagging when they get to Le Mans.
Yeah, because obviously with them, I mean, surely Peugeot has to compete at Spa, because the thought of them, I mean, how big a miss will it be if Peugeot did not compete for outright honours at Le Mans?
Well, certainly. I think it would be. I don't think it would be the end of the world. I think people would understand that this is the start of a multi-year program, but at the same time, we've missed having a real battle at the top now for some seasons. That everybody wants to see that hypercar class full of quality entrants. So it would be a great shame if we didn't see that at Le Mans, but I think we will. I think Peugeot will be competitive. They're not sandbagging, and it's going to be, I mean, we say it many times, it's going to be interesting. Of course it is, but given the time that Toyota have been developing their car to where it is today, and Peugeot being a new entrant, that is going to be a really interesting battle.
I mean, it shows just how much testing Peugeot are doing, and this all not going to Sebring for more testing. I think they've said they want to do another testing program while Sebring is taking place, ready for Le Mans. Shows just how serious Peugeot are. The fact they don't just want to be at Le Mans, but they want to compete at Le Mans, even compete for outright honours against Toyota. So I think it was sort of, when I first read it, I was like, oh, hang on, this is not good. Another hypercar struggling and all this sort of stuff. But the more I read into it, the more I think, well, actually, hang on a minute. This could be good for the sport in the long run, because Peugeot will arrive a bit like Glickenhaus, where they arrived with a competitive car rather than arriving and being 30 seconds off the pace and it looking embarrassing. We could have at Spa 24 a big contest between Glickenhaus, Toyota and Peugeot for the title, which could be quite exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be, when they get, we're racing for 24 hours at Spa, but when they get to Spa, that is going to be a fantastic race, and it's going to give us a really good clue as to what is going to happen at Le Mans. But of course, this again, as we've just said, is the first season for Peugeot. They've not put this car through a season's racing. They've not put it through a 24-hour race. I'm sure they've done multiple simulations, multiple 24-hour runs in the car, but not in actually in a race weekend. So there's still a lot to learn about that car. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be amazing when we get there, definitely.
Yeah, and then we've also got some other hypercar news in WEC, and that is that WRC has announced a full grid, but have rejected another LMP8 hypercar. So, Andy, why do they only want 6 cars in the top class?
I don't think they do.
I think we seem to have a little bit of an issue. Yeah, but yeah, I'll go into the news story. The Coles hypercar entry, which is due to take part in this season, has been rejected by WEC. Oh, he's back. Do you want to continue what you're saying, then, Andy?
Oh, sorry. No, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I think it was, what I've read is that it was a documentation issue. It doesn't quite add up, to be honest. It really doesn't. So I think we need to wait until we've got some more information about what has happened with this rejection. Certainly it's surprised by Collis, because they thought that once they paid their entry fee and they had a car, that effectively they were in, and that doesn't appear to be the case. That's been not exactly a trouble-free run to get that car onto the grid. So they must be very disappointed now. But yes, I mean, reading here that it's not completed its homologation process. So clearly there's something not quite right with the paperwork on that entry, which the WEC want to look at further. But it is disappointing because it was a car that we were all looking forward to seeing.
Will this therefore mean then that the top category will not be competitive and will almost take second stage to the LMP2 and GT categories?
Well, I think we always knew that this year was going to be a sort of a growing year. The LMP2 category, of course, is going to be is huge, and it's going to be hugely competitive, and the racing there is going to be fantastic. I think it's only going to be when we get to the LMDH era and we start getting LMDH cars coming over into Europe for Le Mans that we're really going to see that master plan unfold, and that top class being as full and as competitive, as exciting as we all want it to be. I fully expect that the Le Mans this year, that the real racing action is going to be in the LMP2 class, without a doubt. It depends, how competitive Peugeot are when they turn up, and we want them to be competitive, but I really can't see them toppling Toyota this year. and the racing is going to be in P2. But I think it really is going to be from 2023 onwards that we're really going to see that class start to fill out and some proper racing at the top of the grid.
Yeah, and then we've got some big Intercontinental GT Challenge news, and I think this is quite sad because the Intercontinental GT Challenge, they couldn't complete the championship last year because ICYMI got postponed, and now it looks like they can't start 2022 either because New South Wales has announced that it is pushing the Bathurst 12-hour race back to May due to the COVID spikes they've had in the area. So, Andy, obviously Australia is the other side of the world, completely different seasons. Their summer is our winter, etc., etc. So February, end of their summer. May, starting towards their winter. So what would this mean for this 12-hour legendary race?
Well, we're gonna see the same challenges that we saw over the last two seasons with Le Mans being pushed to later in the year and the Spa 24 in 2020 being pushed towards the end of the year. The nights are longer, the temperatures are cooler, the track's more grippy. And if you're not careful, it puts a lot more stress on the cars and you get more accidents. Plus the fact that you are pushing that particular race more into the sort of like the real start of racing in both Europe and in America. And a lot of drivers are going to go, well, I've got conflicting commitments now. So I think from logistics, scheduling, more driving in the dark, cooler temperatures, it's going to be a real challenge. Plus the fact I think it's disappointing for sports car racing fans because, you know, typically you look forward to the start of the season, which is typically Raw before the 24, Daytona 24, then a week or two afterwards, the Bathurst, and then we really start. Then you've got a bit of a break, then it's Sebring, and then you're starting to look forward to the start of the European season, which we're not going to see this year. So I think it takes away something, but there's nothing we can do about it. You know, the whole world has fought this problem now for the last 2 years, and you just got to roll with it. But I think as well is to be thankful that hopefully this race is going to go ahead because it's a race that the sports car racing fraternity really loves. I mean, it's on my bucket list of things to do to go out and see the Bathurst. So I hope it goes ahead and I hope it's a great success, but it is going to be a challenge.
One last question that I think a lot of people will now be asking: what's going to happen to the Intercontinental GT Challenge with the 2021 season not being? It was still being open due to the fact that ICYMI was postponed so late on. What will happen with the end of the 2021? Who wins? All that sort of stuff into 2022 with a late start already. You know. Surely this will put teams off entering into the championship and drivers off competing in the championship.
Well, I mean, the Intercontinental GT Challenge is more set up for manufacturers, you know, and the events were to be part of local events. So the Spa 24 was not only part of the Intercontinental GT Challenge, but it was part of the GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS Championship. I don't think it will put people off necessarily. I think the SRO have done an incredible job over the past 2 seasons getting any kind of racing going ahead. So I think we've got to be thankful that we've had what we've had. And I think the teams and the manufacturers understand that. You know, let's hope that what we've seen over the last 2 months with the pandemic is the last we see of these big outbreaks and things can start to settle down. So it's just one more season of potential upsets and then we can look forward to more stable calendars going forward. But I think everybody understands how hard the SRO have worked to get any form of racing going on at all. And they're thankful that we've got what we've got currently.
Yes, and on that note, I think that's a brilliant note to finish. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, contact us on everywhere. You know, we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're Amazon Music, Audible, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, everywhere. You know, so you cannot miss us. Please like us, follow us, tell everyone about us, put it on the side of your car, everything. We want everyone to know about us and to listen to us and to get in contact with this radio show. Thank you so much, Andy Lloyd, for giving us your insight in rallying and then at the end, GT and endurance racing. As I said, it's going to be an amazing season for both, and we will be covering it very extensively on Motorsport Radio. But from me, your host, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching in, and good night.
Good night, guys.
Hi, this is Nick Hamilton, and this is Motorsport Radio.